What if the symptoms you are trying to silence are actually trying to speak? So many people move from doctor to doctor, test to test, carrying a quiet frustration. Something is off, but no one can tell me why. Today, we are exploring a different lens, the idea that symptoms are not random mistakes of the body, but intelligent messages waiting to be decoded. Welcome to the Wellness Reimagined, where we challenge outdated health narratives and explore more integrative, human centered ways of understanding the body. I'm your host, Shreya, and today I'm joined by Beth Mielbrecht, a self described health detective who helps intuitive, high performing people uncover the real reasons behind their symptoms. Beth is known for helping clients move beyond endless guessings into a clarity. So much so that people often say she is like having Google Maps from your health. In this episode, we are talking about why your symptoms are not random, they're actually communicating, and how listening differently can change your entire healing journey. Welcome, Beth. I'm honored to have you on my show.
Hi, Shreya. I'm so happy to be here.
And Beth, I'm really curious, was there a moment in your own journey where you realized that symptoms were not problems to eliminate, but signals asking for deeper attentions?
Absolutely. I first noticed this in my own body. So many, many decades ago, I would notice when I would not feel well after eating something. And I'm pretty attuned to my own body. So I would pay attention and notice, well, if I stop eating that, I feel better. And that seems so simple. But really, how many people do you know eat and eat and eat and then feel terrible and don't know why? Like, "Oh, maybe it's something I eat, but I don't know what it was." So I started noticing that. I also noticed that I liked different forms of movement, certain ways of moving my body, such as walking fast or stretching in different yoga postures or, um, just being outside was so much more invigorating, and I enjoyed that feeling in my body much more so than if I was walking indoors in a gym on a treadmill. I didn't feel anything. And so I always paid attention to my body. But of course, this didn't really mean anything because I thought everyone felt this way and noticed these things in their body. It wasn't until my son was born. He's an adult now, but when he was a baby, he ate something and broke out in hives, and I was horrified. What happened? How could I have let this happen to my precious child? And I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, "Oh, it's nothing. It will go away," or said I could get some medication. And I said, "No, I want to know why this happened." And I figured out what it was and helped. That was the one of the earliest moments of my growth as someone who understands health, and knowing that those signs, whether you feel them in your muscles or you feel them in your energy levels, or like my son experienced, you see them on your skin, you see something happening, that's your body giving you a message. And if you listen to it, it's going to work out so much better for you.
That shift from fighting the body to listening to it feels like such a foundational turning point. And also, a lot of people have been conditioned to believe that symptoms are random, unlucky, or purely genetic. From your perspective, what is the biggest misconception people have about why symptoms show up in the first place?
Well, it's true. People think that bad things happen and that, "Oh, my hip is just hurting now. I must be a certain age and there's nothing I can do about it." Or, "My mother had anxiety, so I will have anxiety." And no, that is not the case at all. So, there are things that are genetic, like the color of my skin and the fact that I developed gray hair early or my height. Those things, yeah, there is a genetic component to it based on my family lineage. but there are so many things that are based on the health of my parents before I was born. There are so many things based on how I was raised as a baby and a child. Did I receive medications as a child? Did I receive healthy food? And it depends on the time and place and culture that you're brought up in, and sometimes even the relative wealth. If you have enough money to have the right food and nutritious things. So when symptoms happen, it's because your body is having pain. And that inflammation is your body trying to add some heat, add some fluid, and get new oxygen and blood to the source. And so when there's pain, it means that there's waste there. So we generate metabolic waste just by living and breathing. We have our cells are always doing things for us and taking care of all these processes, and there's a little bit of waste just normally. It's not a bad thing, and that's why we have the lymph system and our elimination system. But we also need to be taking in good nutrients, and when there's a lack of good nutrients and our waste system isn't working very well, then things build up. And when things build up, it usually goes to a place of weakness. So for many people, that's your joints, and or it could be your skin. Things try and express and come out through the skin. So the symptoms are not random. And whatever your parents or your grandparents or your aunts and uncles experienced does not mean that you need to experience the same thing, because you have sovereignty over your own body. You can make new decisions. You can correct any nutritional deficiencies, and you could take care of yourself if you have some toxins that you need to clear out of. And all of these things are relatively simple. Doesn't require that much. So you can definitely choose to live a healthier, more vibrant life than your family.
Yeah, like what stands out is how logical the body actually is. When we stop treating symptoms as enemies, they start look more like signposts pointing us somewhere that is important. And also, when you dig beneath surface level symptoms, what kinds of hidden patterns or imbalances do you most often see driving them?
Well, what I usually see is that we live in a world where our soil is not as nutritious. So the food that's grown in that soil, or if you eat animals, the animals that eat the plants that are grown in that soil, they don't have as many minerals. So we tend to get more nutrient deficiencies. And also when we're stressed, and everybody is stressed these days, when we're eating fast or there's just a lot going on, our digestive system is not extracting all of the nutrients. So everybody has a little bit of nutrient deficiencies, and it varies from person to person. So that's an underlying thing. Another underlying thing is there's environmental toxins. Our air and our water are just not as clean as we'd like it to be. Some of the food gets sprayed with things to make them last longer, and uh, sometimes, there's convenience in that, but it builds up in our bodies along with plastics and things like that. So our body is working every day to try and take the nutrients that we ingest and turn it into energy and then be able to move the waste. And so what I see underlying many people's symptoms is their liver and kidneys. Liver is really, really important. It filters everything. All the good things, all the bad things. For example, people really like essential oils. They do smell wonderful. But if you have too many essential oils, just remember that your liver is processing and breaking down everything that you put on your skin or inhale. So our liver gets very busy, and if it can get sluggish and stagnant. And along with that, there is this internal waste management system called the lymph. And the lymph, you really probably don't even think about it until you might get a sore throat or your ears hurt because you notice that your little nodules along your neck and behind your ears are swollen. And those are little glands, those lymph nodes that are filtering everything. And they're just working very, very hard, capturing everything that needs to be taken out and moving the lymph and cleansing the liver gently, not some crazy detox program, but there are simple things you can do every day. That is what is underlying people's symptoms. So, nutrient deficiencies and not getting the waste out.
Yeah, it's really fascinating how layered this can be, like physical, emotional, environmental, all intersecting. I think healing starts to feel less like a quick fix and more like solving a meaningful puzzle. And also, how does this play out in real life for your clients? And what tends to happen when someone ignores or suppress symptoms for years versus when they finally start listening?
So the way it plays out for my clients is so unfortunately, my clients don't usually come to me until everything has fallen apart. People ignore for a long time, and then they might try whatever traditional method is accessible to them. And sometimes traditional methods are helpful, and sometimes they get great advice, and sometimes they don't, and they get medications or things that just suppress and push everything deeper into the organs. The body's trying to get rid of waste, and they end up taking things that say, Stop the pain, stop the expression through the skin." And when that happens, it just becomes worse over time. And then when that happens, what I see is energy and brain fog. So energy levels decrease. People are tired. They can't sleep well. They wake up tired. They stumble through the day and they're just tired. And by the end of the day, they are barely holding it together and know they just have to wake up and do it all over again. So it's a terrible place to be in. And the other thing is brain fog. They're not thinking clearly. Their body is in pain. Their brain is not getting the right nutrition and they all they can do is just the most simple things, and that's so sad because we are meant to be vibrant, creative, problem-solving people and full of joy and lightness, and when I see clients that way, it really, breaks my heart, and I'm so happy to be able to help and guide them because at that stage, what really happens is they become depressed, they get sad, they are full of anxiety, they don't know if they're going to make it through the day, they don't know if they're going to be able to meet the obligations for their jobs or for their families, and they just feel like they're letting themselves down and their families down, so there's a real emotional component, and that just builds and builds and builds until we go back to the beginning and find out why it's happening and fix it.
Yeah, I think that contrast is really powerful. And also for someone who's listening right now and who feels overwhelmed by symptoms and tired of guessing, what is a gentle first step they can take to start understanding what their body is communicating?
So the first step is when you experience a pain or a symptom or you don't feel well, think back. Is there something physical that happened? Did you uh, try and lift something heavy so you hurt your back? Did you have an argument with your child or your partner, and so you're really not feeling well and you're very tense because you just had that argument? What happened just before you felt this way? And sometimes people will say, "Oh, I have felt this way for months or weeks." Well, then go back. Go back months and weeks, and you might find out, well, it's when I had a falling out with a woman who used to be my best friend, or I had a difficult conversation with someone at work, or it happened when I traveled somewhere and I ate some food that didn't agree with me, and I haven't felt the same since. Or maybe it happened when I took some medication and I just haven't bounced back. I still feel off. Go back and look at that. There's messages there. So it's the first thing. And the second thing is what what do you remember feeling? How do you remember feeling joyful? What was going on in your life then? And sometimes you can get clues of, well, I remember I used to travel a lot. Or perhaps you remember having time to have more sleep and now you don't get much sleep. What is it that made you feel happy and light and joyful when you're an adult? This isn't sure there's exercises you can go back to when you were a child. That's not always realistic because we're adults and we have responsibilities. But those two things are helpful to start figuring out what's going on.
Yeah, I really appreciate how approachable that is. It's not about doing everything at once, it's about starting a conversation with the body instead of shutting it down. And also, healing rarely moves in a straight line. So, when symptoms shift, resurface, or feel confusing again, how do you help people stay grounded rather than discouraged?
Yeah, that does happen. You know, when there are aches and pains, you want them to go away. That's why people like medication and pain relievers. When you have a headache, you want the headache to stop. And usually, once we figure out what the source of the pain is in your joint or the pain is for your headache, that usually doesn't come back again. We figure it out. The one place where symptoms do come back can be energy levels and skin issues. So, the first with energy levels, usually when I'm working with clients, they experience a boost in energy. And then at some point there it is possible, not all the time, but sometimes it's possible to suddenly feel tired and feel like you need a nap. And it's different. It's a different kind of tired than before. And what it means is your body is going into deep healing and it needs sleep. It needs naps. It needs longer times in bed. I've had clients tell me that they slept for 10 hours and then by the next afternoon they wanted to take a nap. And that happened for maybe 3 days. And as that happens, your body is really going through deep healing. And then they have all told me that once they got through that intermediate tired period, they were better than ever afterwards. They had more energy than ever, and they felt better. So it's a little bit like if you lift weights. When you're lifting those weights, you're tearing the muscles. So you're not actually building new muscles when you're at the gym and lifting weights. You only build those muscles when you go to sleep and your body starts the repair process. If you're not sleeping well and you're tossing and turning and you don't get that deep sleep, your muscles don't repair. So you just continue to be sore. So once we fix the sleeping and you start sleeping better, at some point, sometimes my clients will get into a couple days of needing that extra rest. And that's incredible. That's beautiful. That's that deep, deep healing. The second time symptoms come back is with skin. So we talked about how the liver is the organ that processes everything. And when that's stagnant or stuck, it's it's not doing a very good job. And so in that case, things that are in your body that need to get out, they will sometimes go out through the skin. The skin that covers your whole body is the backup organ for the liver. And when that happens, it's uncomfortable, it's unpleasant. It might look like eczema or acne or hives or boils. So once we start getting the liver working again, usually that clears out. If a skin symptom comes back up, it's because you are strong enough and the skin is the quickest and easiest place for that to get out. And sometimes there will be one more push. Things will come out through the skin. There will be one more spot of eczema. There will be one more expression. And we work together through that. And then it's done. But sometimes it's just quicker for things that are sitting at the sub skin level to just continue expressing through the skin, then make its way all the way through the body to the liver, using the lymph system to get to the liver and then go out the elimination system through the colon. So sometimes issues will have one more thing that comes back. But that's really what I see in terms of symptoms returning. If you don't pay attention to the main thing that's happening, such as your liver, you will chase hormones, gut issues, um, all kinds of aches and pains. You will chase them from one to the other because the elimination system is backed up. So that's usually what I see.
That reframing feels so supportive, like seeing setback not as failure but as a new information. It keeps the curiosity alive instead of fear. And this is truly a wonderful conversation with you. And if after this my listeners want to connect with you, then what's the best way?
The best way to find me is to go to my website, and that is yourhealthwithbeth.com. When you're on my website, there's a button to click and take a free quiz. There's links to all of my social media there, so you can follow me on any of those channels. But everything is located at yourhealthwithbeth.com.
Yeah, and I will make sure to attach all these details and links below so that the listeners can find them easily and get in touch with you. And for my listeners, there is today's reflection question for you. For anyone who is listening and who has been struggling with unexplained symptoms, I leave you with this question. If your body were trying to guide you rather than stop you, what might it be asking for right now? The deeper truth is this: your body is not broken, it's communicating, and clarity begins when we learn how to listen. And thank you for joining us on the Wellness Reimagined. If today's conversation resonated, consider sharing it with someone who has been searching for answers about their health. Remember, healing is not about silencing the body, it's about understanding its language. Until next time, take care and listen closely. And do not forget to hit the follow button, subscribe, and also feel free to share your thoughts because your ears deserve premium content. Thank you.